Purpose.
Hello, welcome to Youth of Purpose, a show that is here to give you a platform as young people to be able to contribute to whatever happens under the sun concerning us. We want to be able to say Uganda is because we are in the few years to come because of the deeds that we had in the previous years and because of everything that you do on a daily basis. Looking at what you did yesterday, today, do you think you're doing good to your country and making sure that Uganda becomes better? But also as an individual, we focus on empowering you to become better, transform your lives and become the Ugandans that we all wish to become. My name is Ivan Tumukunde. Welcome to the show. Today we want to be looking at a very interesting topic and majorly to ask the young people. Like we've been saying over time that climate change actually is real and we're seeing the impact of what is happening. I've been looking at some of the causes of those climate change effects that we're having. So at a time like this one, we need to be able to discuss some of those root causes, but also how do we look at sustainability of us as a country, us as human beings? How do we make sure that we create an environment where we know that humanity can be able to actually go on and on? Today we are discussing sustainable energy in Uganda. We want to be able to understand all that and how can we as young people be part of this conversation and foster it to make sure that the attention it needs is actually given to it from the people that actually are in power in decision-making positions to make sure that we play our role as the 77% of this population. And on set today, I have people that I'm certain are going to help us to delve into this discussion and bring you up to speed in the terms of sustainability, energy, what is available here in Uganda, what have you been missing out? And to start with, exactly on my immediate left, Sarah, you're welcome to Youth of Purpose.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the program.
Thank you. And Christine, welcome to Youth of Purpose. Kindly say hello to the viewer.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much. So to start in the most simplistic way, Sarah, when we talk about energy, sustainability, for an ordinary person that is watching us right now, what are we talking about?
It's a good question. And so for an ordinary person, one of the things that you need to know is that your life and energy are inseparable. Every single step you take every day, energy is a part of you. From when you decide to charge your phone, when you turn on that bulb, when you decide to cook, everything you do, how you move from one place to the other, energy is at the center of it. When do we say that it is sustainable? It is sustainable if that energy is naturally replaced. For example, I'm using my energy to charge the phone, but it is naturally sourced and it is not compromising with any other environmental or the environmental ecosystem. So for the person out there, what you need to always double check and think about is, I have my energy source. Is it naturally provided? Does it affect anything in the environment, in the ecosystem? Will it last beyond, or is it something that actually is running out? So sustainability is in that space. The core bit is it's natural, it's efficient, it's not affecting the environment. So those key aspects are ideal in the space of sustainability and energy.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Coming to you, Christine. In Uganda, what are those major sources of energy that we can talk about? And if you can be able to actually put them clear, which are those that we can say are in the sustainable bracket?
Thank you so much for that question, Ivan. The energy that we use in Uganda is largely sustainable in terms of the electricity that we produce. Because we have most of our electricity coming from renewable resources, like Sarah has said. Hydropower is our biggest source, followed by bagasse, followed by solar, and a very little bit of thermal energy. However, like she said, we also utilize energy in heating and cooking and doing so many other things, which is largely not renewable. We use a lot of charcoal and firewood. And then also transport. transport systems. We are using a lot of individual transport that's using diesel and petrol, which is not renewable.
So, coming to you, Sarah, why do we need to have this discussion about sustainable energy right now, and how relevant actually is it to the young people?
We should have had this discussion maybe yesterday or last year. I'm great that it's actually starting to happen, and a number of players or people are interested in seeing this conversation go forward. We do not have another Earth. It's a common line that you'll hear people tell, there isn't another Earth. This is the only Earth that we have. For Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, maybe one day somebody will say, let's take away that name. We are no longer the Pearl of Africa. So we need to start the conversation now to regain the natural Earth. What was Africa? What were we known for? What is Uganda known for? The green, the peace, the lovely environment that we are having. So it's very important that as our population is shooting, if you remember who we were then, the numbers that we had maybe 30 years back, and where we project to be 20 years from today, it's important to speak sustainability.
Sure.
If you also look at the other part on how each one of us, we have that kind of, I would say, individualism in our lifestyle. Each one of us must have their own enclosed space where they are living. So we are encroaching on every space that is available. And what does that mean? So much what we call development, urbanization, buildings here and there. Yeah. We are destroying the environment.
Seeing how people, for example, here in Kampala and in most of the urban areas, how people are filling up the wetlands and putting up apartments and all that, you wonder. I've been just checking on one of my neighbors who is doing construction, and just directly to the stream is where the wall for the apartments are. And I'm asking myself, so if this person who is doing construction is that foolish, who is going to be foolish between the landlord and you, the person who is going to enter into that apartment?
I know that's a nice insight, but also I like what happened. I don't like COVID because I lost relatives to it, but I like that at one point we will pay the price, and it will not be segregative. Every person will pay their price. That guy constructing that apartment to raise the money may spend that money in hospital because they want now to overcome the issues they're facing due to the destruction they caused. The conversation is ideal right now. It's the right time for us to be responsible, not because we want to be known, people say climate change activists. No, because it's the right thing to do. We will all pay the price.
I mean, to you, Christine, looking at, the status of sustainable energy use in the world, countries now using electric trains, electric cars, and here in Uganda, we're still using firewood for cooking. What is the status of sustainable energy use here in Uganda?
Uganda is transitioning, though very slowly. We are transitioning. Like I said, the decisions at a policy level in terms of what energy to produce are now looking at renewables mainly. So we are focusing on hydropower, which we have in plenty. We are focusing on solar. It is said that solar can power up the earth in just 1 hour. The solar that runs around the earth can power up the earth for a whole year. So solar is a very rich resource, and Uganda is harnessing it. We are also looking at bagasse for industrial production to increase the renewable energy that we use in industry. But on the other hand, there is another policy perspective that is coming up, and that is the nuclear power. Because the population is growing, we need a lot of energy. Economic growth, we are moving into industrialization and adding value to our products to gain more from our exports. So we need a lot of energy in the coming years to come. And so the policy direction is to include nuclear in our energy mix, which is also clean energy. Now, when it comes to transport, like you asked, Uganda is looking at having mass transport in terms of buses, and we have seen a lot of that. We have the Kira EV that has come up, and young people are really interested in that. Yeah. We want to produce buses of our own, and then we'll have mass transport. Instead of every individual polluting the environment, we have mass transport that is clean. On the other hand, we also have bikes, motorbikes. We have clean motorbikes on the market, a lot of that. And we have about 5 centers that are refilling these batteries and training people, and also providing those motorbikes. So young people, that is a very good avenue to support. We also have trains coming on board.
Electric ones?
The standard gauge rail will be electric. However, also, as the technology improves, because we also have hybrid trains on board, so they use both diesel and electricity. So there is a lot of traction in that area. If we move a bit faster, we will definitely get there.
Thanks so much, Chrissy. It's a beautiful conversation we're having again right here, and I'm just getting to the gist of it. Hopefully, you're also getting to like the conversation. We'll be going in for a short break. When we come back, we're picking it from there, and my interest is going to basically be on one of the most used energies here when it comes to cooking. How is it here in Uganda, and what are we doing to make sure that that is done in a sustainable way? We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Youth of Purpose. My name is Ivan Tumkunde. Today, we are talking sustainable energy. And with me, I have Sarah and Christine, and they are helping us to delve into this discussion and help you to know actually you as young people, what is your role, how do you come in, and actually why do we need sustainable energy use here in Uganda. And where Christine finished from as we went in for a break, Sarah, if you're to come in here, one of the most used energies here, majorly, is for cooking. How do we relate sustainable energy to cooking?
So there are a number of ways how we can relate sustainable energy to cooking, and different people, depending on the category that it's a household, it's an institution, or maybe a government body, would relate differently to sustainable energy for cooking. One of the areas we can look at is the sourcing part. How is your sourcing for energy? It is a key point in terms of considering the sustainability of the energy that we are using. So, are you sourcing sustainably? All concerns are people undergoing, like, for example, fair pay and things like that. So sometimes we think of nature, we can cut, it can grow in its own, or we've actually planned what we're going to use. But the issues of fair trade that come in terms of sustainable sourcing of the energy that we are using. Then there is also sustainable consumption. You could use firewood, for example, if it was planted with an intention that these trees will be used as wood. You could still say, I have sustainable firewood. However, if you're going to consume it in an unsustainable way, it almost loses sustainability in it. Because someone could use a kilo of firewood to cook for certain hours, and for example 1 hour. Another person could use it to cook for 6 hours because they have put in place principles of sustainability. So consumption is a key point as well when we're speaking about energy, but also in some cases the distribution and how we get to distribute energy to different areas. For example, we or different players who are involved in distribution and or energy access are taking into considerations of sustainability in terms of the emissions or how you transport the energy. For example, you could be intentional to say that my sack of sustainable charcoal or green charcoal will move on an electric tricycle, for example, to the final consumer. So there are bits and pieces around the whole space of sustainability and energy, and how each of us has a crucial point to play, from the person producing it, the one moving it to the consumer, the one consuming it, and even how we have disposed of the gadgets that we have used. Today we are in high gear for e-cooking or e-appliances in the country, generally globally, but who is ready to manage the sustainable disposal of the waste that comes with this? So it's a beautiful, nice conversation that is going to keep going, and a lot of different players are key to ensure that we achieve sustainability in the energy space.
On the same note, when you talk about, for example, use of e-appliances for cooking, how is the reception for sustainable energy use in Uganda, and actually also on the issue of supply, availability, and affordability of actually those energies?
The reception, I have had the opportunity to be a part of this conversation for the last 9 years. There were those days when you spoke and it was just Greek. You're speaking to yourself. Around 2015, it didn't matter what you're saying. Over time, there is a bit of consideration that we are seeing from different people, be it industries, be it hotels, different industries are getting into it, even individuals at household. Recently, last year, when we had a ban from the president, there, it was actually like a spike. We needed that lighting match for people to start getting involved. People are like, this time, it might have not been that tight, but maybe one day it will be tighter. What are the options? It's now beautiful. People are asking, what are the options? They are willing to try. They are willing to pay for trying. But in the past, you would even offer a solution for free, and somebody keeps telling it's in my boot. I forget the washing day, I did this. But now people are willing to try, and they're interested to give you feedback. So the reception has over time improved. The cost of energy, the cost of livelihood in Kampala, in Uganda, is forcing people to think. So we told people, when you're thinking about energy, don't just think about cooking. We want your energy bill. How much do you spend on this, on this, on this? Everything is energy. And then people are beginning to think, okay, so you mean if I'm choosing my car, I can think about it differently? Yeah, so the perception is improving, and I think in the next 5 years it will be much better. Some people are willing to pay for sustainable energy, even if it is more expensive than the other unsustainable energy.
Wow. Christine, how do we get the young people interested in this conversation? But also, what exactly is the role of young people in fostering sustainable energy use? But also to add on, what are those opportunities that young people can take advantage of in as far as we are appreciating sustainable energy?
A very, very interesting question. Young people have a very important role to play. When we were growing up, we were told young people are the future leaders of this country. Right now, young people are the leaders.
But also putting in mind that it's 77% of the population.
Right now, young people are the leaders. The decisions on what equipment to buy in a home are done by the young people. Our parents ask us, what should I buy? And then you tell them. So already you're contributing as a leader, as a decision maker in that space. So the role of young people is really, really evident. The opportunities for young people are also massive. Young people are generally they are quickly adapt to technology, and of which the transition requires us to think so much about technology. The transition in terms of what fuel to use, in terms of how the efficiency of that fuel, in terms of how do we change it to fit the Ugandan narrative. Those decisions are very important, and a lot of it has a lot of technology. Young people have an opportunity there. Now, in terms of jobs, the renewable energy jobs are massive. We have a lot of young people taking up jobs in solar. We have a lot of young people taking up jobs in efficiency, improving how our equipment work. We have a lot of young people taking up jobs in just innovating around the energy space. So there is a lot of money in that space. We have young people who just contribute to decision making. We have young people who change the narrative, teach other people about it. So there is a lot of opportunity for young people in this space. Yeah.
Sarah, as a country, but also as players in this sector, how do we make sure that the information that Ugandans need to get in as far as sustainable energy, but also when it comes to making choices for someone to choose which energy to use, how do we make sure that people have the right information to make right decisions?
That's a deep question, and it's going to be another journey. I feel like sustainable energy in itself, in its development, has gone much more ahead than making sure people have information. And just to add on what she has said, the young people have an opportunity to be the ones to ensure that that information is available. Currently, we are working with a lot of estimates. there is no much data that we can benchmark on. If you find a very detailed and critical person and they're asking you a number of things, you will struggle a bit to answer them. For example, somebody will ask you, if I use an improved cook stove to cook, compared to if I don't use an improved cook stove for the same amount of charcoal, explain to me what that means in terms of emissions saved. And then you are there, yeah, or not emitted out, and then you're looking. If we don't cut this tree and I use e-cooking, what does that mean in terms of contribution to the environment? And which tree species contribute what? So there's a lot of blanket information. If you don't cut the trees, this will happen. What canopy do we need for what kind of environmental contribution? So there is still work being done right now. Companies, people are stepping back a little bit to be able to create the evidence that is going to give the confidence to people. Most times when people know, they will take action. However, some of us, personally, I would say I jumped onto this, and what I was looking at was what is the problem, what's the solution. But now when it comes to, for me to have evidence, to form evidence-based solutions or programs, it's still a lot more investment that has to be done. What standards am I looking at that I'm going to compare? What detail is required? So it's a journey, and for me it's an opportunity for somebody out there to pick up and say, I am doing this. I want everybody to come to me when they want this. I am going to support the different ministries, the different people with the mandate to do this work, to ensure that I leverage the resources they already have, or I fill the gaps of what they don't have, so that people can make informed decisions. In our country, decisions are made by very few people. A person like you could be making decisions for 20 other people.
Yeah.
You make a phone call, the village is seated, you post in the WhatsApp group, the action is what they will be taken. So once you have the information, you'll pass it on easily. I think the key point is, let's have credible information.
Thank you so much. Kristen, sustainable energy use and the environment, or we can say climate change. How does the application and use of sustainable energy help us to save the environment and avoid the climate change effects that we've been seeing, not only here in Uganda, but almost all over the world?
That's also a very interesting one. We have a lot of choices to make in terms of what fuel we use. Because if we use a fuel that releases greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, we are destroying the environment. And that is why we see challenges that are coming on board, like the floods, the adverse weather conditions, the droughts, and all those things. So we need to choose a fuel that is clean and that it didn't release. And we know those fuels. There is a lot of scientific evidence on those fuels. In terms of cooking, which is very, very pertinent in the Ugandan sector, in the Ugandan setting, but also in the African setting, because most of the people who are using unclean energy for cooking are in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa to be specific, and also a small part of Asia. So in Uganda, mainly we use firewood and charcoal. However, we have so many options. We have gas, we have biomass that is efficient, like the briquettes that they have been talking about. We have we have electricity, so that is in terms of fuel. Now, in terms of efficiency, we also have so many options. Many of us, when we use firewood, we are using the 3 stone, you know. Almost 90% of the energy that's going there is being wasted. It's not giving you any value. So we need to also choose an improved stove whereby you save at least 40%. You don't waste. So it's very, very important. So if we make choices where we substitute for fuel, in terms of we take away the unclean fuel, use the clean, and then we also substitute for non-efficient equipment with those that are efficient, we are doing the right thing.
I hope we'll get to where she was talking about having the statistics of saying if we are able to use sustainable energy in this form to this rate, This is what we'll be saving in as far as the environment is concerned. I think we need to get there, and someone can be able to take action accordingly because of the numbers. Lastly, I'll give 30 seconds to each of you, basically to call Ugandans to action to take up sustainable energy use, starting with you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I would like to tell my fellow Ugandans that our country is beautiful. Our country is very beautiful, and there's nothing as beautiful as Uganda. Please, let's just protect it.
A call. I would like to make a call to the young people to embrace sustainable energy technology. Don't shy away from it, and to come and work with all the stakeholders to improve the adoption of sustainable energy solutions.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Christine, for being a part of this conversation. And I'm certain it's been of great impact to the person who is watching, but also for those people who are in decision-making positions. You're able to act and make decisions that are, that important, that will encourage Ugandans to take up sustainable energy use for the better of our country. But also, I want to call up the young people. We are 77% of this population. And what you do on a daily basis is going to impact directly to what Uganda is going to be in the future. As we say, we just borrow a part of this world for the time we are here. We're just borrowing from the future generation. So take care of this earth such that it will also be able to take care of the coming generations. We continue with this discussion to do with sustainable energy use, and we'll be having your second episode where I'll be taking you through e-cooking. How can you be able to appreciate e-cooking and make sure that it gives you all the benefits as we'll be seeing. So make sure that next week you're able to catch up on this show, same time here, right, on UBC and U24 TV, to understand actually what opportunities await you in as far as you using e-cooking is concerned. My name is Ivan Tumkunde. Thank you so much for watching this show. See you next time.
Youth of Purpose.